why do all instruments have this edge, overlapping edge all around? And the violin are famous to be graceful aging without problems over hundreds of years, and this tiny detail makes part of it. Stay tuned and I explain you. Hello, back again. This is Edgar from Cremona, Italy, and I actually want now to stay at my working bench and want to close my body from my violin. But doing that, I just popped up to my mind that I never explained you this tiny detail, why this edge is all around. And before we jump into these details, I have to point it out. If you see this edge, every instrument has it. Some instruments, when they are very old, then it gets consumed in certain areas where it's touched, but actually all around there is this edge. And the main reason is that wood is moving. I explain you. This is a double bass top. Looks very dirty, but it's actually wood which I bought tire trees. When you season them, they're shrinking. When they come into water, they're getting a little bit bigger, and when they're dry, they get tighter. But let's try to be a little bit like a scientist here. How is this here made? Then it's made out of grains. And let's say one grain is something like this tube here. And then it comes next grain to it, and another one, and another one. And this is in a tree, okay? And you can look through the grain, okay? It's a hole inside, yeah? So these holes, when you varnish goes in, these pores. And when it is shrinking, this here is going together. And if humidity comes, it's growing up a little bit like a sponge. But mainly this up and down is only sideways because length stays the same. Maybe it happened to you that you have a wooden table or a working bench, and the grain is all lengths, like my tubes, right? And on the side here, there's a piece of wood which is like this. They finished the table very nice at the corners, very nice. And over the years happens the same thing, that here there starts to become a tiny gap. And this gap here happens to all because here the grain is like this and here the grain is like this. In length, it won't shorten, but in size, it's like human. I will always be like this, but I will become bigger and bigger belly if I eat and drink more, and if I eat and drink less, I became more skinny. Same with the wood. Now, when you look at the violin, you have a combination of these grains. Let's take here a nice Scala Perfetta cello. Even a Scala Perfetta cello, just like my master cellos, have the same problem. Grain is length, here length, and at the very end it affects this edge, this overlapping edge. On the back, it's much less moving. On the top, the spruce, it's moving much more. And this ends up that the instrument, if everything is made perfect, is also loosening up where it is glued on. Now, people think that if an instrument isn't made very well, it's always opening up. It's wrong. It has to be glued not too good. Only economic instruments, they glue with white glue or with, I don't know what they take, that it is stable and that it will never open up anymore. Angry musicians are annoyed, oh, again it's opening. Yes, because where the hand comes, where your chest is touching, where temperature is a little bit raised up, it's certainly more exposed to opening up. And it's opening up because there are some tensions on the whole instrument, on the corpus of the instrument, and it needs to open up in order that it can readapt to get its new place. So when closing your instrument, back and top, it's nice to glue very well. It's very nice to be proud to have the best glue in the world. But if you would have the best glue in the world, you are creating an instrument which is for sure going to crack. And these cracks are probably in the beginning where the neck goes in, where the saddle here is, where the joint is. And if all this is already done and has a little bit of room, then it will crack somewhere else, because these tensions of the instrument, when it's shrinking or when it's gaining dimensions, needs to go somewhere. And if there are tensions on the instrument, it won't sound that nice, free, great. And for all those who want to see exactly what I'm doing while I'm working on my working bench, sign up to my Patreon channel and make part of a small community which is very interested into this violin making trade, all the tiny details which make the big difference.
It's a little bit like being part here in my workshop.
Now, this is actually the part which I actually intended to show you. Gluing this part here is very crucial. It needs to be done with a certain idea in your mind that you have to glue it. It has to hold, it has to last, but it shouldn't be too strong. Yeah. So we glue it, but we don't exaggerate. Okay. Glue has to be everywhere, and once glued, there should be no glue outside, otherwise the varnish won't keep in the right position. There's actually a nice part of work which gives you the impression the next day it's already done. Yeah, while there's still plenty of work to do. I hope you learned even today something, and you won't be too angry next time when some areas of your top, mostly in the beginning the top, but also the back, is opening up. It's a sign that years go by and that your instrument is seasoning, graceful, and is adapting to nowadays climate. Take it as it is. Search a violin maker who is using the proper glue, which is not too strong, in order to avoid that your instrument is going to get damage of these movements. And tell your friends they should sign up and subscribe as you just did in this very moment, because you felt guilty that you weren't subscribed to my channel by now. Thank you. And tell your friends. See you next time. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.